Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, Podcast Pete and lifestyle coach. And we have a special guest on our show today from a little bit further away than Atlanta, Georgia. She's calling and she's coming in from Germany. So, all my German friends, stay tuned. And if you're interested in some of the things we're going to cover, you're going to want to hang around. So if you tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Sophie. I'm a ghostwriter for a year now. I picked the niche of life coaches, but I'm focusing on neuroscientific backgrounds or tactics because I'm really into neuroscience. I have a scientific background. I studied forensic science, actually, quite interesting, but then I pivoted a lot and now I do ghostwriting.
Wow. I love anything to do with human nature, people, how they make decisions. When it comes to how people respond to things, give our viewers a little idea of what that means when you talk about the neuro and you talk about things that go beyond what the average person is. So what does it mean to you to be a person that's connected to people in that way?
Yeah, it's always nice, and I always liked teaching, and now I can teach via emails, via LinkedIn posts, and I'm not in the focus, so that's nice. I'm the ghost in the background. Nobody has to know about me, but it's really nice to can convey this like message, meaning, or wisdom. And it's so great because a lot of people, I mean, everybody's living, so everybody can benefit of life coaches, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then everybody knows situations. And when I write about them, I try to make it really tangible. So a lot of people get aha moments and they're like, oh, this is the background. That's why I'm feeling that. Like, that's why I'm tired at the evenings. And like, it's so nice if they can take bits and pieces of that and know what they can tweak in their day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think is the biggest mistake that people might make when they're writing? I mean, plenty of people are writers, but some connect, some don't. What do you think? What is lacking? I know you're behind the scenes ghostwriting, but speak to our community and our viewers about what are they missing when they're writing in that way?
So there's one really famous piece also for copywriters, ghostwriters. Everybody knows it. I forgot the name of the author, but it's quite famous, and it's like, to sum it up, it's don't be clever. And I think that's the biggest mistake. You have to write simple so that they can understand it, they can connect it. They don't have to think about it too much to get it. If they want to do that, they read poetry. But if you want to just connect to them on a eye-to-eye level, kind of, then don't be clever. Like, don't make it a grandiose piece of writing. Just say what you have to say.
That is very good. I was never a writer. I grew up dyslexic. So when it came to writing, it just was hard to get the words out. But I had a stroke over 4 years ago, and I was introduced to journaling, where I started writing through journaling.
Yeah.
And it just absolutely unleashed creativity like I've never seen. Mm-hmm. And I never really kind of leaned into it till I had to. Now I probably, every time I have a journal right here, after every podcast episode or in the morning and the evening, I'm always writing. Yeah. And that was never me before. What would you say, what does writing do for the brain? Because I've listened to it, I've leaned into it, I've studied it. But share with our viewers, what is that? How does it benefit us?
Yeah, so it's great that you discovered that for yourself. The reason might be not that great, but great that you discovered that. And it's really a great tool. And our brain really benefits of it for several reasons, but we actually think differently when we write our thoughts compared to just thinking them. And also our brain is for having thoughts, not for keeping them. So it's great for our creativity to write things down, because then there's free space kind of, and you can have more creative energies flowing, more new ideas, because it's not stuck or cluttered with all the old thoughts. Yeah, and actually the brain waves are different if you're writing compared to hearing, talking, listening. Yeah, so it does a lot of things. Like you remember stuff better, you have more mental clarity, you can make decisions better.
Yes.
And it's just like a counselor for your own, like you are your own counselor on paper. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. My brother, about a year ago, he said, "You know, Pete, since your stroke, you're sharper than you ever were." And
Yeah.
you know, I felt it, and I felt like I am remembering more. I think what I did before is try to store information. Like you said, it's not a storage machine, it's a thinking machine.
Yeah.
So when I wake up, I drink the water to kind of hydrate. I
Very
start
important.
thinking, I'll read, then I'll journal, and then I plan my day and implement it. And I do the same thing over and over again, but I don't like over here in America, the average person is watching 4 hours of TV and scrolling over 2 hours of like TikTok videos. And so they're consuming all this stuff, but they're not thinking, they're not creating. And so what do you think? When did you discover that part of creativity in your own journey?
I would say it came and went, because also as a child, I started to journal a little bit for myself, or maybe everybody did that at one point, like writing down funny stories. Like as a child, you don't care and you just do it for fun. And then I stopped a bit, but I also noticed when I was studying at university that it helped me to just write everything down, because then suddenly I had more mental clarity and I could connect the dots and everything. And I was always a big reader, but then slowly I shifted to also creating, but because I was also only consuming. I was reading, I was watching everything, like just from the outside and not from the inside. And yeah, then I started slowly to write more for myself, and then I did a ghostwriting course, and that got me really into it.
That is so good. You know, I don't know, this was about 6 months ago. I don't remember the gentleman, but they were comparing, you know, you go to you call it university, we call it, well, we do university too, but whenever I'm talking to anybody over in your part of the world, they always say the university. And I love when I hear it. I love it, because we say, I don't know, college. We say different things. But here's where I wanted to go. He was talking about we can type 10 times faster than we can write. However, when they run brain waves and they see the writer who writes the notes versus the person that types the notes, the brain is completely different, because it's wiring in a more effective way. Like you said, connecting the dots and doing all kinds of things, remembering things more effectively. And I think I know plenty of people that they're typers. And I've been always took notes, but I didn't take notes like I take notes now. I try to draw and do lines and do crazy things, highlight things, just so my brain learns differently. We have between 12 and 60,000 thoughts that go through our head. And how do we keep up with that many thoughts? What's your journaling like today versus maybe 5 years ago?
Yeah, first of all, I would say you don't have to keep up with your thoughts because a lot of them are random, they're fleeting, they only matter in a second. Though it's just for this compressed few that are important. Yes, so sometimes I use journaling prompts. If I can't think of anything, then I have a few, or I do a weekly review where I have certain steps I do and always the same questions. So that is nice because I can see over the years what changed or over the weeks or months. That's always good to find patterns also, and those are always signals like, oh, this is interesting, I want to dig more into that, or oh no, I don't like that, so I should cancel that out of my life, kind of things. But yeah, you can do whatever you like. So there's this practice of morning pages, for example. A lot of people like that, to get their head clear in the morning and just write whatever comes to your mind. But I often do it in the evening, and I do a little really short recap just of the day, one highlight, one thing I'm grateful for, and then maybe some plans already I have for the coming week, because it's my planning time also, and it gives me a calmness because I know what's coming up.
Wow. Now, as you're describing that, the thing that came to my mind is a community that I'm involved with called Growth Day. Is that what you use?
No, not exactly, but I heard about that, or growth days, growth weeks, think weeks. Who made that
This
famous
is
again?
actually a community that's about 300,000 people.
Yeah.
But they have prompts, because one of the things that people always would tell me is, I don't know what to write. And it's like, if you can get prompts, like you said, questions, and you just have to kind of expand on the answers, it kind of stimulates, because what is that saying? A body in motion stays in motion. So if you just get going and do something, it's not like all of a sudden we have this creative second where we just start writing. It's just, if you start, all of a sudden things start to flow.
Yeah.
What would you say, is the toughest thing when people hire you as a ghostwriter? What are they struggling with that they want you to help them with?
Yeah, so oftentimes it's the busyness, they have all their schedule already full. They always want to write more or post more, but they don't have the time. And it's the first thing to go. But also often they struggle with hiring somebody because they always think, oh, nobody can say it as I do, or like I do, or but they do it differently. It's not my voice, is a common objection. So this is something they struggle with. But then I ask them, okay, if that's a priority, do you want to start writing more? And it's just a help, because I'm a ghostwriter. It's not about my voice. I'm just capsulating their voice. And it's like a little vacuum robot you have running around, because you actually can do vacuuming on your own by yourself, but you choose to get a little helper, and I'm the little helper for writing.
Ooh, that's beautiful. We're big in our community of writing authority books, like give people an opportunity to get to know you through your writing. So you just want to give them enough to continue their journey with you, because online people have to get to know, like, and trust you, and it takes time. So they don't just see one thing, read one article, and they're going like, man, I want to hire Sophie because she's unbelievable. They got to get to know you. They have to kind of see you in different things. What do you ever help people in that kind of writing, where they're kind of amplifying their authority out to the market?
Yes. So we call it then thought leadership articles, for example. To present them as an authority or somebody who is an expert in a niche or in their specific topic. That's something I focus on also, especially on LinkedIn. And it's always great to work with them. And I do little interviews with them and record them. And that's what I take then as a basis to write their thoughts and put them in a structured way that other people also understand them. Because often it's also, they're so niche, they know so much. And then it's this don't be clever, be simple thing again, because outsiders don't understand them necessarily that great. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. I have a gentleman, he's 40 years into the holistic. He's been doing it for 40 years. And when we met, I went to high school with him, and he went north up to Vermont and New Hampshire. I went south to Georgia, Atlanta. So we didn't see each other for 50 years. But once we connected, we had that interest of health and nutrition and holistic. And he shared with me his 40-year journey. What he found it hard to do, and I working with him for 6 months, is going back to day one. Like, he knows so much that how do you relate to the new person that's not 40 years in, but they're just starting out? Do you see that, like with experts, do they struggle with knowing all this that they know? They have to almost rewind for years and years to go back to the beginning. How do you do that with them in writing and ghostwriting and assisting them and coaching them through that? What have you used that's been helpful for them?
Yeah, so that's definitely an issue sometimes, but there are two ways, I would say, because one is sometimes they have this great knowledge and this advantage, but they think that is normal, and they think, oh, it's boring. Why should I tell people about that? Why should I write about that? That's basic. Everybody knows that. And I'm there to say, no, not everybody knows that. You're 30 years into this. You know that, but somebody only even 1 year behind you might not know that. And then people even further in line don't know that at all. So this is one thing. And then I'm there to help them, to show them, no, not everybody knows that. And the other thing is sometimes you have to pick your audience also. I mean, if you have a really young one and you really want to talk to them or teach them, also be a kind of coach to them, then I have to like go back a little bit, and we have to have more talks maybe, and I have to remind them that they're using a lot of slang words, or the words that are normal for them but not to the everyday person. But sometimes it's also they want to only talk to their peers or their colleagues that are also already 30 years into the game. And then it's totally fine to have this higher standard of vocabulary and topics also. And then you don't have to adapt that much, because it's totally fine. It depends on who's your audience, who do you want to talk to.
That's so good. My partner, who's in Canada, he's written like 400 books and counting. He has a system. So he has a structure, know your audience, fall in love with your ideal prospect, and then he has the 12 P's. Do you have a system that you use that has been effective of really highlighting or leveling up your clients that you use and have been helpful for you?
Not a rigid one, because it's a lot of trial and error, especially at the beginning. We test a lot of different things and then see what resonates with the audience, and then we double down on that. And it's also depending what's your goal. Like if you want to write on LinkedIn just to get more followers, you write differently compared to you want to become a thought leader in that one topic and that industry. And then I do a little mix, and usually only like 10% personal stuff. And then the other things about like 60% about your topic, about your niche. And then the rest, some, outlier, controversial topics, maybe like some things against the grain, like some wild cards, let's say it. So, but it's always a trial and error, and you see what resonates and then you double down. So it's not really rigid, because especially at the beginning, you don't know the audience, and then you have to just see what works.
What are you seeing with LinkedIn? I see a little bit clearer picture of some things, but some of my friends go, what the heck are they doing? It's like they're trying to find themselves. Do you find anything when it comes to LinkedIn that you like, and where would you like to see them improve?
So I like it because it surprises me oftentimes. But I, for example, often follow people that are also ghostwriter, and then I see their journey, and that's really, really, inspiring for me. So I think it's really important to just adjust your algorithm, or like to delete or say not interested. And I did that a day or something, get way better after that. And now I really see the things, that articles I want to read. And I like to explore a bit new fields also. And I think it's great for that. But sometimes if you just get anything in your feed, you have to really audit it and make it adjust to your needs a little bit more. But I also like that they have this video features now that are getting used more, because that's always a nice touch. I'm a writer, but it's still nice to sometimes have videos and audios, and you get to know the people a little bit more through those.
It's so good. This was about 3 years ago. My partner, he kept encouraging me to lean into AI. And I said, I don't have time for that. I'm doing my podcast. Don't care to get into that stuff. I like HI, human intelligence. But I did, all of a sudden, I said, what the heck? He kept asking me or prying me. So I put together the framework for my first course. This was 3 years ago. I was amazed at the framework it provided. Now, there's, I think, a two-edged sword with it. I always say, not always, but 10% HI, us, on the front end, and 10% on the back end, but let it do 80% of the deep, heavy lifting. Are you using AI in any creative way that makes Sophie better?
Yes, definitely. So the most important thing for me is like the grammar and spelling checking. I couldn't work as well without it. So that's really important. But it's funny that you mentioned the 10 and then 80-10, basically, because my mentor also always, taught me this. And it depends, because at the beginning I started using AI, and then after a while I didn't like it because I felt like I depended too much on it. So also using it for writing drafts and stuff. And then I pivoted, did a long time without any. And I think that was really good to craft my writing on myself, so to improve. Because if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. So if you know what you want to tell, how you want to tell, the structures, if you have a feeling for it, then you can use AI again to do this heavy lifting for you. So now I started like a couple of months ago to use it again a little bit more. And I use some agents, and sometimes I don't like what they come up with. So I do heavier editing, but yeah, definitely the grammar and spelling checking is important for me.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a powerful one. And I call people every day, and I talk to people, and I get up real early, and then when my energy's going down a little bit, I like to reconnect or connect to people, and it kind of shoots my energy back up. But here's what I was wondering, like, when you look at the critical thinking, which I work with some students, and I caution them to not lean on AI too much, because they talk about brain rot. Like if you just totally dependent on AI and you stop thinking, that's a recipe for disaster. It's almost like over here, the numbers are watching TV 4 hours a day and scrolling social media 2.5 hours. And that's consuming other people's lives. You're not thinking, you're just sitting there like just absorbing other people's lives when we're born to create. Like you're creating writing, you're creating something for a person. It's like the two of you are better because you're coaching them through the process. What do you think, like when it comes to, I know it's a hard question to ask, if you had to look out a year or two, where do you think AI is going when it comes to how Sophie's going to be using it?
Yeah. One little side note to that, because as you were talking about this just consuming brain rot, I had to think of Wall-E. I don't know, the Disney movie. I don't know if you know it. When the people on the spaceship, they're basically just sitting in a floating chair with a screen in front of their head, and they don't think anything. They don't talk to other people, only with robots. And then they rediscover Earth a bit, and then the guy is explaining to the children what Earth is and what plants are, and then he's like, a pizza plant. Just a little side note, I had to think of that.
There's so much too, because you said it earlier, like if we use this for a storage machine and you're just storing, what you do is, I don't want to forget this, I don't want to forget that, and you're wasting valuable energy. Where if you're thinking, thoughts come. I mean, I get more thoughts now than I've ever got my entire life, mainly journaling, and I have a team of people that do that stuff that I don't like to do, the details. All I do is I podcast, I create courses, and I coach. I don't do anything else, and it has spurred my creativity to the highest level I've ever seen. I'm like blown away. What do you think when it comes to how do you challenge yourself? Do you have books, podcasts, how does Sophie grow?
Yeah, I have a ton of podcasts. Sometimes I don't have enough time to listen to us. I have books. I always read self-improvement, development books, then also neuroscience books, and sometimes even papers about them. And they're really tricky sometimes to read. So that's my challenges. And then to have a balance, I also read some fiction on the side, but I love reading. So that's always something I do. And to come back to your other question, I think in the future, I would use AI more to this tedious task, like you said, your team is doing for you. And I would do this like just organizing, collecting information and stuff I don't like to do, maybe taxes, I don't know, and use AI for that, and then have more freedom even to do the creative stuff by myself.
That's beautiful. I had a friend of mine, this was about maybe a year and a half ago. She introduced me to Notebook LM, which is one of Google's AIs. And now when I want to read a book, I will ask Chat to give me a summary. I feed the summary into Notebook LM, and it presents a story, both podcast and like a kind of like a what do you call them? PowerPoint. Like it's 15 slides. So I learn. I'm learning different things. I'm listening. I'm learning, and then when I speed read a book, which I still read, and I try to read almost a book a week. I'm reading it so much faster because my brain is pulling out things that I think I've kind of highlighted in my brain. And now I'm just so enamored by how quickly I can retain and use information. Because you're right, if it's just storage machine, it's too much information. But how do we use it to make us better. Have you ever used Notebook LM? Is that something you've ever played with or heard about?
No, actually, I haven't heard about it. I will look into it after this and check it out. Yeah, but I often tend to like grab an AI and just ask questions that I have in that moment. Like the other day, I was searching for how did they did soap in the ancient times, and it was really great to learn something about. And then later on, I watched a little video about it, how somebody does it today. And yeah, I think it's a really great tactic to have these different impulses in a written form and in pictures, reading it, listening to it, because that's how we actually learn best with these different impulses.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think it's just a really quick way to get the knowledge in a consumable, easy way. And if you look out for it now, maybe you notice that most AIs have this be simple, not clever, and they break everything down for you in pretty basic steps. Mm-hmm. And then even bullet points or something that it's really easy, digestible, and that's actually quite good for us to get the knowledge.
Yeah, that's so true. I want to be respectful of your time, Sophie. So how can people get a hold of you? Because I believe in help and support and coaching, and there's plenty of people who need to write books. You don't want to go leave this earth with a book in you. So how can people get a hold of Sophie?
Best would be LinkedIn, actually. It's just my name, like written here, Sophie Wohlig. And it already says Ghostwriter, and it has a picture of me, so you can find me there.
Awesome. That is so good. What would be the one thing that you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
Just try writing for yourself and see what it brings to you.
Wow. So simple, so good. Thank you so much, Sophie. We appreciate you taking the time to be in with us, and we'll make sure we share this with people in our community so people know the resources that are out there and available to help them achieve their dreams, to go after what they need to go after, because together we're better. So thank you so much, Sophie. We appreciate you so much today.
Thank you for having me.